She works with owners whose businesses have grown faster than their financial infrastructure, more revenue, more entities, more people, more debt, and somehow less clarity.
So joining us this morning is best-selling author, coach Lisa Goldenthal.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa G, your host. You're at the top of your game, yet the game is changing faster than ever. Strategies that got you here aren't the ones that'll keep you here. The pressure is relentless, and the fear of obsolescence looms large. That's why I'm here. Welcome to the new podcast series, Disruptive: How to Be Gritty and Unlock Performance in Business, Mindset, Wellness, and Success.
Welcome back to Whole CEO. Most CEOs think they have a money problem. Usually, they have a structure problem. My guest today is the founder of Heartfelt CFO and Tax Services. She's been doing this for 20 years, and she is not the accountant who shows up after the damage is done. She gets in the room before the money moves. I've said this publicly before. She's a financial architect. Welcome to the show, Margo Masri.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here and help.
Me too. I mean, if your financial structure hasn't kept pace with your growth, she's someone I'd want in the room. So welcome to Whole CEO. And you've run this firm for 20 years, and at some point you changed the whole direction of it. What happened for the pivot?
So the pivot of the company happened because what I saw was that the clients, the patterns was continuously the same. They would show up in the damage, they would show up in the not knowing, and they would show up wanting to know. But at the
Right.
end of all of that, what was happening was they weren't really picking up the habits. And there was like this tug and pull, push and pull around wanting to change, needing to change, but then the habits would go on autopilot. And a lot of this is because the accounting industry is structured in a reactive way, meaning at the end of the year you report everything. So it gives you a chance that later is kind of okay, because until something happens, it's not really going to catch up with you. However, when it does catch up with you, or when you do decide to take the time, things start to really act up as if you needed it the whole entire time. And that's really the main pivot with running a company, is having it before instead of the after. When you have it the after, you're still not only paying for it, but all the hard work, the research, the depth of where you're going, it starts to take away the element, the culture, the values of where you're trying to go. And especially as a CEO and as professional service, what ends up happening is that you put so much emotion into it, you don't realize it. And separating who you are from where those goals are for the money is a really big deal.
Right. I mean, it gets back to the structure, if for all businesses, you need to have systems and structure in place rather than that end of the year or quarterly panic.
The structure is the issue. And we talk about it in three levels: clarity, structure, scale. And with structure, what happens is that people think nothing is going to happen, or they don't want to think that something is going to happen. So it becomes later, 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 or they're worried or they're shamed of that the money is not going to work out, or the deal is not going to happen. It's not going to be profitable. We're always worried of what we may not happen, but we don't associate with what could happen and then the possibilities to that. So when we're in a goal, we start to always think of the default, worst case.
Right.
But most business owners don't have this pattern of where they think of this is where it wants to be, and then the
Right.
steps to get there to actually acclimate themselves and really overwhelm themselves with that instead of the what if. And getting back into the structure, it really comes down into entity protection from every level. It's making sure with partners, it's making sure with the team that really it's the basic saying, dot your I's and crossing your T's.
Right.
Your team is appropriate, whether it's categorized properly, whether it's an outsource or if it's in-house team. It's learning the appropriate language. Also with structure, knowing what entity you're actually in. I can't tell you lately how many clients are coming in. They're in this complicated partnership entity that they just don't understand. But they want,
Wow.
yeah, we actually had 4 this year alone. And last year, the one that came in, it was quite interesting because he had this complete view of what was supposed to happen, and it was like not even close. It was just not even
Oh
close
my
of what it,
goodness.
and it was not even close. And then at the end, not only did it lose, it really hurt him. And when people are in the real estate field, let's say, for example, what ends up happening is that if you don't have another cash flow on top of it, you are really dependent on these situations. Bills come in, the mailman is still coming, and we got to be realistic around cash flow, KPIs, and things that when you have a place for this all to go and being in that awareness, or I also call it being intimate with your numbers so that your
Right.
numbers speak to you for that next goal. And when it speaks to your next goal, those are your keys and clues for your next steps. Money is not hard. We're making
Yeah.
it hard.
I mean, I know you've said that businesses are basically Jenga towers with everything living in the owner's head. So I'd love to dive into what does that actually cost the CEO?
Because they're the person that always is needed. So they're
Right.
not sleeping, they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, they're in chronic pain. All the things that they're causing upon themselves that really has nothing to do with the goal. They're making themselves the bottleneck. And not only is it
Right.
a Jenga, it also takes upon their health. And I've seen it where their health really is at stake because of things that really didn't even matter. And chances are the money is there, chances are the profit is there. But we think so much as business owners that we have to have it a certain way and it needs to be a certain way. But how about if it happened a better way than you expect?
I
And
love
12
that.
and 12 times out of 10, when you carry the numbers ahead of time, they always, always produce and more. Always.
This is such a valuable conversation. I always talk about how the bottleneck is the leader if all decisions always come back to them. So I'm so aligned with you on this topic. And when a CEO can't answer a basic question about their own money, is that really a finance problem or is it a leadership problem?
It's a leadership because they're not taking responsibility and they're trying to hide things. And I'm actually going to share a story. We have a client we're with for several years, and his number two, he had super specifications on what they wanted, that what they could know and what they couldn't. And it became impossible to work because
Right.
it was like 1A, A1, A1C, and it was very difficult, and especially to prepare KPIs with that.
Right.
And hiding money from the team, it just shows what else are we hiding.
Yeah.
And when you don't take responsibility, the responsibility will take over you. And it's not only that it's a leadership problem, we think that it's this mask that we're wearing on our head, but the money is just a representation of what's happening at the time. It's your keys and your clues to your next steps. And chances are, when you monitor them, the jump, and I say jump, that you could make is way simpler than not knowing. Because the not knowing, I've seen people like, I'll share another story if it's okay. I had this client where we were working with, she was a real estate agent. She turned into a broker. And we had a VIP day where we were talking about her business plan. And what ended up coming out, she ended up was hiding from her husband because she knew he was cheating on her. Like it was
Oh my
wild
God.
happening because of the overworking of why people were doing things. Now, everyone goes through shifts and changes. I'm not making that wrong or bad or decisions of where they're coming from. But money, when we make that a mask of who we are, it becomes your ego versus really being in business of why you're really there.
Right. I love so much about the need for vulnerability and honesty with your finances, not only with your team, with your partners, with your partner in life, because you can't develop ownership and empower others if they don't think you're being honest with them.
Well, there's turnover. It
Right.
becomes around turnover because people see through that.
Right.
And I can't say how many clients with their partners are not honest with their life partner, and you can see right through it. Why does it matter? Because you're always trying to skip steps and trying to get ahead of something that doesn't exist. And when you
Yeah.
try to get ahead of something that doesn't exist, you're just wasting energy around something that really can't get you far. So,
Right.
top line is not what matters, it's how you get to the goal. And if you just rewire that goal from a different angle, it's really not that big of a deal. But when you look at it through the numbers, it is way quicker. When I work with, we do is we look at the structure. And
Right.
usually the structure tells me the story of where the client's been and where their head is. And when people are skipping steps, chances are that, but when you do know, you can't unknow it.
Right.
And it's not the place to save money. The place to save money is if you're going to buy iced coffee from Dunkin' or Starbucks. And
Oh,
even that's
yeah. I've never given up my Starbucks, but I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it just feels better in the world to be honest anyhow, honest with yourself, honest with your partners, honest with your spouse about where you're at, because that way everyone can kind of help you get where you need to be, hit that goal.
women and men together go a lot further than men alone, especially with women. I mean, these days, if you open up, there's more and more women retiring their husbands these days, where they're actually talking about it. And not only are they retiring, but they're actually making the money even easier. And
Good.
when you work together into a partnership, you're not only saving your family, but then when you're ready for retirement, it's there. It's not something to first stress about and first worry at 50. You see, we're actually building another part to our structure around wealth development in a bigger layer in terms of like retirement and different things. Usually we outsource that part. And now I'm building another structure. And what we've noticed, we've looked at about 10 cases. And what we really noticed was that the same problems persist if you don't take care of it from the onset. And
Right.
it's not only just sad, but it's just a waste of time because you really could retire at 50 when you do these things earlier instead of like the typical age of 65. I'll be honest with you,
Right.
at 47, once my daughter finishes school, I'll be able to finish a lot earlier than what the stats have been telling me because
Good.
it's exciting.
When a CEO can't answer the basic questions about their own money, is that really a problem? What are the three numbers or signals a CEO should be able to see every single week without asking anyone?
The cash available to spend, they should actually know what their payroll is and when they're taking a salary, how it affects them and how it affects the business. Because some clients are just taking because they need the money and they're not really understanding the difference of when they're reinvesting into the business and overtaking how that really can take an overall effect.
Who else inside the company should have access to those numbers?
That's a great question. It is a personal decision. There is no right person. But if you have a partner in life, whoever is actually on your entities has to know. It's not that one person has the bank account and the rest doesn't. It's miserable and terrible when I see that. When one partner out of five doesn't have access to the numbers, it's crazy. So at the end of the day, the people who are closest, who are working with the money, need to have the access. Instead, what I would encourage you to think about is that you can limit the permissions, you can limit the views, you can limit the access instead of worrying who has access.
What are the final things you want to leave our audience with on how we can do better? I mean, don't get to that panic every quarter. Don't get to that panic once a year. Don't worry about getting audited. Like, what is your last things you want to give us on that topic?
Whatever is in your way right now, take that as your number one goal. And just going back to the numbers for 1 second, too, look, team members and different things, those people do have to have the right access to you and the right respect to have it. But they were chosen in your entity structure for a reason. While you have this goal around money to improve, I wouldn't try to improve on everything. I would have a trusted partner. And having a trusted partner to lead you instead of wearing the world on your shoulder can go a whole long way. And even starting with yourself, taking it as an end goal and maybe making 4 to 6 steps backwards to still see that goal so that you can work towards it. Whether it's 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, it's a daily muscle that without us moving, just like the gym, just like healthy eating, it's never going to change. And as much as you want it to, more money doesn't change it. It actually exacerbates the problem.
Right. If you don't have that structure and systems and support in place, more money is just going to create chaos.
It actually just highlights it even more. And I shared here with Lisa with the link. I hope you take advantage of it. We put together a structure what will help you move forward into those steps, and it will really help you kick off into the right foot and really have a place to go instead of feeling like you're going into Google into like this big river of nothing.
Wow. Well, I know you and I connected on LinkedIn. So where can people connect with you to get that excellent download that you prepared?
Well, we gave you the link. And if you go to margomasri.com, we have a specific page now of all our special gifts. And on LinkedIn as well. Everywhere is margomasri.com, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook.
Awesome. Yeah, margomasri.com. Wherever you guys are listening, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, Margo, for being a great
You're,
guest.
you're so welcome. Thanks for having me.